Alright. Alright, let's
Where he wants to speak.
Alright.
Although you never know what works for me and my number.
Yeah, that's true.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming out. My name is Jimmy Chong. I'm here with Nancy Walsh. We're going to start today with some student drummers from the Philip Jason program. So if you can welcome in, let's give them a hand.
Their parents are they use
Thank you to the Philip Jason student drummers for joining us today and really starting us in such a powerful way. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here on this balmy Philadelphia day. My name is Nancy Walsh, and I am honored to have been invited by my dear friend Jimmy Chong, the event organizer and spirit of this entire event, to take even a small role in this important movement. So, just a few quick announcements. The red lotus signs that we passed out earlier, if you could all hold on to them. During our moment of silence, we will be asked to hold them in solidarity with all of the national movements happening today. So just hang on to those. And speakers, if I could ask you to come up here and stand with us so we can keep everybody moving and keep your blood flowing. And without further ado, I would like to introduce someone who needs no introduction, our wonderful ABC, Nydia Han, who flew back from vacation and came right here. Thank you.
I had to tell you, I was afraid I wasn't going to make it last night, so I am so grateful to be here today. I am so grateful to each and every one of you who came out on this bitterly cold day for the National Asian Justice Rally. A special thanks to all of our distinguished speakers who will be introducing themselves as our program continues. And a very special thanks to Jimmy Chong, along with Nancy Walsh and Jack Costello. We owe you a debt of gratitude for organizing us here in Philadelphia. So a big hand to all of you. Today we gather with solidarity and with hope to remember Mr. Vicha Ratanapakdee. He was an 84-year-old Thai American grandfather who was shoved to the ground in San Francisco in broad daylight and killed. Video of his attack galvanized the entire country to fight against an alarming surge in anti-Asian violence. His attack was one of just over 10,000 anti-Asian hate incidents reported over an 18-month period across the United States. And as we all know, many more incidents go unreported, and even more occur but aren't labeled as acts of hate. Furthermore, these kinds of attacks are sadly continuing. Perhaps the words hope and solidarity seem oddly placed as we remember such a tragic event and acknowledge the disturbing reality in our country, where we belong. But looking around today at all of you and feeling the collective energy of similar events in San Francisco, Chicago, Atlanta, Los Angeles, and New York, it is clear that hope and solidarity can emerge from heartbreak and pain, especially as we gather and stand up and speak out. And as we remember Mr. Ratanapakdee and countless others who've experienced ignorance, discrimination, and violence, let's turn our focus to what else we share, whether as members of AAPI communities or as allies walking beside us, regardless of background, culture, or birthplace. We proud Americans share a passion for our communities, a quest for contentment and peace, a right to safety and freedom, and dreams for a brighter, more compassionate, more unified future for our children. In those commonalities, we honor Mr. Ratanapakdee and all victims of hatred. In those commonalities, we raise our children and build our communities. And in those commonalities, we can truly stand in hope and solidarity. Like Mr. Ratanapakdee, our first speaker today experienced the brutal consequences of racism in a profound way. Thankfully, she survived to tell her story and to be a voice for others who've been silenced by violence or fear. Rather than allow her experience to become a foundation for anger and detachment, Christina Liu has used it to propel herself to action. I know she is an inspiration to me. She is the embodiment of why we are all here today, of what this movement is all about. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Christina Liu, the Central High Schooler who stood up for her fellow students on SEPTA. Please welcome Christina Liu to the stage.
Thank you. Happy New Year. Happy Lunar New Year, everyone. Thank you so much for gathering here today to spread awareness against Asian hate crimes and for inviting me here. Today, together we can show our communities that we must stand up, that solidarity is important in the face of civic movement. History has always shown that change has come from the marginalized, and the SEPTA attack is one of the many hateful acts that illuminate the need for another change. I am a victim of the SEPTA attack of November 2021, but I am so much more than a newspaper headline. I am more than my victimhood. I am a survivor. I am an advocate for the voiceless. The perpetrators of this hateful crime targeted our community because they saw us as weak. And with the model minority myth, we will forever be seen this way unless we act to shatter this harmful portrayal, the idea that we won't stand up and show up. The COVID-19 pandemic has emphasized the systematic oppression against disempowered communities like ours. Systematic oppression is a plague in our nation, a plague that breaks families apart and takes lives away. The FBI counted 7,759 hate incidents last year. That is 7,759 times a life was lost or blood was shed. Now, I want to take a moment to mourn the deaths of the victims of these assaults. But I also want to celebrate the lives they lived. They were somebody's parent, child, sibling, friend. They were somebody with dreams. People never truly seem to understand the impacts the deaths have on the victims' loved ones, that their families and friends might now need to remember them longer than they have known them. Asians are not the only one being attacked. While the past between Asian and some other communities have been filled with hostility, our future is bright. Together, hand in hand, we can fight against systematic oppression and hate for a better America. We are not here to create a greater divide between other communities and the Asian community, but to find ways to unite them all together, to stop the stereotypes and ignorance in ourselves, and hopefully through consistent efforts in strengthening interracial relations, build a better Asian alliance with others for future generations. Our story tomorrow must be different from the stories today. Our world a better place for everyone. Thank you so much, and together let us break the silence.
All right, good afternoon. I'm Councilman David O here in Philadelphia. I'd like to welcome you and thank our organizers, Jimmy Chong, Nancy Walsh, and let's give a round to all our elected officials who came out on this chilly day, some not from Philadelphia, outside of Philadelphia, but really to join you in standing against hate. Hate is the problem. It's a misdirection, it's an illusion, it's a disruptor. It is something that artificially causes us to not work together and not to combine our efforts to make a better society. What is the hate? Why do you look at another person and boil them down to just one thing? when they are so much more than that. When we look at another person and define them by their religion, by their race, by their gender, by their preference, when we just hate another person for one thing, we lose the ability to recognize them as one of us. We lose that humanity, and we lose all the opportunities to be our best together. We should not hate, and everyone who comes here today is remembering that each one of us we're individuals. And we remember today Vicha Ratanapakdee, a person who was hated and ultimately killed because someone could look at him as just one thing and they hated what they saw. We should love each other and work together. And everyone who stands here, that's our message. We're each an individual. We can all work together. And as a society, as a nation, we will be better when we do that. That is our dream. Thank you so very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm City Councilwoman Helen Gim, and I also want to thank Christina Liu for her powerful remarks. I want to thank my fellow electeds who are here and Councilmember David O. And especially the organizers who brought us together in a national moment of silence as we recognize thousands and thousands of individuals of Asian American descent who have been victims of hate crimes, of bias incidences and attacks. We stand here in memory of Michelle Go from New York City. We stand here in memory of the 8 women in Atlanta, Georgia, and we stand here in memory of thousands of individuals who have often felt silenced. But I also want to remind all of us that here in Philadelphia, we have a proud history of Asian Americans who have stood up even in the face of violence and in the face of attacks. That includes young people in 2009 who won a federal civil rights settlement after they were attacked at their local high school. One of them now has become a former human relations commissioner here in the city of Philadelphia, and a number of them are leading some of the Asian American youth organizations that are among the loudest and strongest in standing up to anti-Asian violence, but most importantly, to building the resilience here in our communities. I am incredibly proud to be part of a sanctuary city in which Cambodian immigrants stood up against violent deportations and defended the city, but making it safe for everybody. I'm also incredibly proud to be part of so many young people today who are awakening politically, becoming more politically conscious than they've ever been. And I hope that this moment is not just a reminder and a moment of silence for the memories of those who have passed, but also that it is a reminder that when our voices come together, when we are louder than we have ever been to decry hate, not only do we speak for a proud Asian American community, we stand for this city and for this nation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Gim. Thank you so much, Councilman Davey and Christina Liu's very powerful speech. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, all distinguished speakers, leaders, community members, and allies. My name is Stephanie Song, and I have the privilege to serve as the Executive Director of the Pennsylvania Governor's Advisory Commission on Asian Pacific American Affairs. Thank you all so much for being here, despite the cold weather. The fact that you all are willing to stand here with us in the cold of 25 degrees affirms the seriousness of the cause that brings us here today. Tomorrow is Lunar New Year Eve. In Pennsylvania, more than half of our Asian Pacific community members celebrate the Lunar New Year as their most important festival. This is a time for family union, and especially for giving thanks to seniors and loved ones. I cannot imagine how difficult it will be to face the Lunar New Year for those families who lost their loved ones victimized by anti-Asian violence. As the Lunar New Year approaches, The scenes of an empty chair at the dinner tables of those families came to my mind very often and broke my heart. Those seniors who were attacked and died when they walked in their neighborhoods, like Vicha Ratanapakdee, would never be able to receive the bows from their children and grandchildren on the Lunar New Year day to express their appreciation and love. And their children and grandchildren would never be able to receive the Lunar New Year red envelopes from their grandpa or grandma to bless them throughout the whole year. Over the past 2 years, the uptick of anti-Asian hate and violence, which is far higher than the hate crime reporting numbers, traumatized all Asian Pacific American community members and threatens the safety of our everyday lives. The Asian Pacific American community weeps again and again, see fellow community members losing their lives solely because of who they are, and stands in solidarity with all communities targeted by hate crimes. With hate surging around the nation and here in Pennsylvania, we should ask, what takes away people's compassion and the ability to see elder people as one's own aged parents or grandparents, and to care for others' children and siblings as one's own? What makes people blind, only seeing the color of a person's skin, but forgetting the color of our blood is all the same? Our country is in crisis. We have to raise our voices to call for humanity, call for justice, call for education, and call for actions. Actions from government, from law enforcement, from schools, from communities, from you and me, and from every one of us. 3 days ago, Governor Wolf announced $4.5 million in new funding for the nonprofit security grant program that provides funding to increase security for temples, mosques, churches, synagogues, community centers, and other nonprofit organizations which face bias and the targets of hate crimes. We encourage organizations in communities to apply for this grant because we see you, we care about you, and we want to help protect you. Let's all work together to turn our Commonwealth and our country into a true sanctuary, a true leader in acceptance and tolerance of all people, no matter their beliefs or origin. A place where Asian parents do not need to worry about their kids' safety on their way home or to school. A community where people feel confident to let their aged parents and grandparents go grocery shopping by themselves. And a society reflecting our words when we call each other brothers and sisters. Thank you so very much.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Val Arkush, Chair of the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners. I'm so honored to join you here today with a number of other representatives from Montgomery County, because hate knows no borders, and we stand here in solidarity with the AAPI community. A year ago today, we lost another life needlessly to anti-Asian hate, a trend that has been on the rise in large part because of the hateful, derogatory comments of the former president and his followers in the early months of the COVID-19 pandemic. We are seeing these violent attacks carried out against Asian Americans every day. And although these racist attacks have increased in the last 2 years, we also know they started long before the pandemic reached the United States. These attacks are shameful. They are not who we are as Pennsylvanians or as Americans. We have a terrible problem when our Asian American friends and neighbors cannot feel safe leaving their homes, walking down the street, doing simple things like grocery shopping or riding public transportation. It is incumbent on every single member of our community and our Commonwealth to speak out with a single voice to condemn these racist and bigoted attacks. Today's rally is part of those efforts, but there is always more that we can do. Those of us in leadership positions have an obligation to use our platforms and positions of power to reach as many people as we can, to say clearly that we will not stand for these heinous attacks. In Montgomery County, we have built relationships and partnerships with many of the folks here today, working in the AAPI community, particularly during this pandemic. I want this community to know that we will always, always have your backs. We also need laws on the books to make it easier to report hate crimes and to give local law enforcement the resources they need to effectively combat these crimes. It won't be easy to change hearts, but by working together every single day, we can show folks across our Commonwealth that we will not tolerate these attacks in our community. I am proud to stand with all of you here today. I will be here every day. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to stand here with you today. Most of us are all children of immigrants. We are here to look after one another, to protect one another, and to defend one another. That's our job. Thank you for hosting this event, Jimmy, Nancy. My district is in Montgomery County, with a small portion of Philadelphia. Last year, many of my constituents, including one of my staff members, held a vigil against anti-Asian hate, based on events that occurred in our county. The racially charged attack in San Francisco and Vicha, as well as others all across the country, shall not be forgotten. It is a matter of dignity, and it's a matter of human decency. As we stand together in our moment of silence, thinking about the injustice against Vicha, let us continue to remember and to be mindful of our treatment of our friends and neighbors in the AAPI community. My name is Nancy Gens, and I'm here to stand with you today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm State Representative Joe Cerisi. I come from Montgomery County. And as I stand here in the sister of brotherly and sisterly love, I think about all the people who we need to embrace, especially today when we've heard hate has no place anywhere, and in this community. And today when I sat down and thought about why we were here today, I reflected back on one Pennsylvanian and one person who chose to be in Pennsylvania. Over 70 years ago, James Michener and Oscar Hammerstein teamed up and wrote a show called South Pacific. And in that show, they wrote a song that I found very interesting, and these lyrics still reside today. And it's something that we all need to think about. The song was called, "You've Got to Be Carefully Taught." You've got to be taught to hate and fear. You've got to be taught from year to year. You've got to be drummed in your little ear. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught to be afraid of people whose eyes are oddly made and people whose skin is a different shade. You've got to be carefully taught. You've got to be taught it's not too late, before you are 6 or 7 or 8, to hate all the people your relatives hate. You've got to be carefully taught. It's our obligation as elected officials, as city officials, to make sure our children are taught never to hate, Never to look at someone and judge them because of what they look like. I'm a grandchild of immigrants who came from Europe at the turn of the century. I know what it was like. We heard the stories. But this hate can't go on any longer. We can't accept this. We can't stand by and say it's okay. So as elected officials and a lot of my colleagues who stand behind us, we stand with you. We stand against the hate, and we will do everything we can for this state to make sure that it ends. Thank you all very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Representative Steve Malagari. I represent the 53rd District in Montgomery County. It's great to be in the city of Philadelphia. I want to thank Councilman O. Where's Councilman O? He's here somewhere. But I want to thank Councilwoman Geim as well for their hospitality here in the city. Thank you, Jimmy, and to the entire AAPI community for having me today at this rally to really honor the rich heritage and culture of our AAPI Americans. And it's my pleasure to be here at City Hall to do so. Here's a fun fact for everyone. Our Chinatown here in Philadelphia is the second largest Chinatown on the East Coast. I don't know if any of you all knew that. I want to first wish all those observing a happy Lunar New Year. I want to wish everybody the Year of the Tiger that brings you and your loved ones good health, prosperity, and luck. The Lunar New Year is considered the most important and festive holiday in Chinese culture. Those celebrating take the time to review the past year and learn from their mistakes and hoping for a very fresh start in the next year. It's no secret, though, the past 2 years were tremendously difficult for our AAPI community as hate crimes have skyrocketed against Asian Americans. Aggressive phrases like Kung Flu or Chinese Wuhan virus have unjustifiably shifted the blame to East and Southeast Asian Americans for the spread of COVID-19. We all know that that is false. Xenophobic and racist rhetoric have led to brutal attacks on innocent Americans such as Vicha and Michelle Go, whose today's rally is honoring. It's 2022. There is absolutely zero excuse that such harmful rhetoric should exist today. The spike in hate crimes against AAPI community led to the social movement, #StopAsianHate. This platform opens a productive dialogue of how allies can better help Asian Americans. This rally is also to commemorate the 1-year anniversary of Stop Asian Hate movement. And in honor of this milestone, I urge you all to visit the Stop Asian Hate website for a centralized outlet of information and important links to support the movement. You can also share resources, donate, and volunteer to show your support for the movement. About 22 million Asian Americans trace their roots from over 20 nations, bringing their diverse languages, cuisines, and customs to this country. The vibrancy of this enormous community ripples through cities and smaller towns like my home in Lansdale. Many of you I recognize in the crowd are from there. I'm very grateful and fortunate to work with AAPI constituents on issues that are important to them. And I have truly learned a lot about how to be a better ally. And as a state representative, I'm continued to be surprised by the talent, hard work, and dedication of the Asian American community. Many families come here looking for a better life for themselves and their loved ones, and to succeed, and it takes courage to do so, resilience and determination. And these are the qualities that, in my eyes, make an American. I want to thank the community for their positive contribution and wisdom that will better the lives of future generations across the nation. And I will continue to work with Asian Americans in my district to serve them best the way I can and as their state representative. And I want to say thank you again for having me today. And I wish you all a wonderful year ahead. Thank you so much.
I'm State Rep Joanna McClinton, and I am the leader of the Pennsylvania House Democratic Caucus. So I ask all my colleagues who are here, because there's of course not enough time for each of us to speak, but we stand here in solidarity. And today you're joined by Representatives Burgos, Hohenstein, Nelson, and you heard from, of course, Cerisi, Malagiri, and Gens. We are here because there is nothing more important for us to do on this afternoon except stand in solidarity with everyone in the Asian American Pacific Islander community. There is nothing more important, and that's right, we can all clap our hands because it is important that we have solidarity. Each and every one of us, while we're working in Harrisburg, we serve a variety of communities throughout southeastern Pennsylvania and beyond, and we are blessed and grateful to serve constituents who are members of the community. Cobbs Creek section of Southwest Philadelphia community. The organizer, Jimmy Chong, and I in law school as interns side by side in the courthouse that's facing this city hall. We work together in the community, and we're in the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, and there is no place for hate. There's no place for hate. What's happening all across America right now at this very moment is importantly crucial, that we do not allow there to be an inch of hate or injustice, because we know that our neighbors, 1 in 5 in the AAPI community, have experienced hate crimes and haven't even reported them. They've been called names, they've been pushed, they've been shoved, they've been treated in a bad way, and we must rise up together. The moment in time in history is calling for solidarity amongst all communities. The only common enemy is ignorance. The only common enemy is white supremacy, and we will defeat it together. There is no place for hate. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming out. Everyone, to all the speakers, thank you. You're just amazing. We also like to thank State Reps Joe Hohenstein and Joe DeMille Burgess for coming out. And so thank you. Apologize we didn't get to you on, but thank you for coming and showing your support. There's also a lot of other people that were involved in this, in putting this together. I'd really like to thank George Sheh, the CEO from Philip Jason Medical Center Memorial Foundation, Jung Lee for bringing out the team of the student drummers today, all the student drummers and the parents, Ken Yang from Posse Pan Asian Senior Services, Kevin Kim, Attorney Kevin Kim, for supporting this from the start, and he's really been critical to everything that's been going on. Judy Yu from the Federation of Korean American Association of Northeast, and stand with the Asian Americans who have been helping and supporting us from the West Coast. Yeah, we also like to acknowledge the parents of the students involved in the SEPTA incident. They are here today, and some of the other students are here. And with Attorney John Hahn, so thank you for coming out. So, sorry.
Look at here. This is the signature. This signature, 10,000 Philadelphia citizen signature about the stop gun violence and the anti-racism. 10,000 signatures. That's I made 5,000 signatures. This I made whenever I go to people picture. I feel the demonstration, feel connected, I feel connected. I'm going to demonstrate this way, can't handle international technical behavior. Come around to see how I made
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm old man. Okay? What you are younger than me. You are smarter than me. You have to stand up. Okay? You have to stand up.
Actually, the story this senior is trying to tell us is a very, very touching story. This gentleman is over 70 year old. In the past several months, he has been going to subway station, going to community centers to ask people to sign on a petition about anti-gun violence because he feels heartbreaking to see so many lives die in the gun violence. So let's give him applause. Thank you so much. And we will definitely work together with everyone from our community, including the seniors. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So, everyone, we have a national moment of silence coming up with the other cities. So everyone, you have a red lotus sign for those who have it. At 2:45, we will have a national moment of silence with all the cities. So that's in a few minutes here. And after we had a national moment of silence, we move on. So,
If we could all sort of gather in a circle so we're one unified circle in solidarity. In just a moment, across the nation, people will be holding these signs and observing a moment of silence to show their support. And Jimmy has something to read.
so I guess right at 2:45. No, he said do it during 2:45, so it's at 2:45. Yeah. Everyone in the nation at 2:45 for 6 cities, so we have to wait till 2:45. 2:43. So about 2 minutes. So we have about 2 minutes, and we will. One of the purposes is to show solidarity, not only between the AAPI communities here within the area and with everyone in the community, but also with the other cities that we have been working with over the past few weeks. So exactly at 2:45, which is in about 2 minutes, everyone will be holding these signs up in San Francisco. There will actually be a march that will take place. In Atlanta, they were actually holding this virtually. New York City, LA, there's having a lot of different events. So really we want to show the country that we are together as one. So it's the cities out in the West Coast don't quite understand. It's very cold out here, so thank you for coming out. So when that goes off, let me know and I'll start.
Jimmy's going to read something that's going to be read across the country in just a moment, and then we'll observe a moment of silence. after which Nydia will join us to say a few ending words. But on behalf of Jimmy and myself and all the speakers here today, thank you, most of all, to all of you who came out in the cold to show your support and show what the city of brotherly love is all about.
It's great to see everyone out here. There really is. I love seeing all these faces. It really is inspiring. We put this together in a couple of weeks, and I was surprised. But here we are. So hold this up. Now we will share a moment of silence. On the back of your program, this is a program. On the back of the program, there's an image of a lotus flower. Please hold it up at this time. The lotus flower is a symbol of enlightenment, transcendence, and rebirth. Its formation is an analogy for the human condition. Even when its roots are in the dirtiest waters, the lotus produces the most beautiful life. Please join us in a moment of silence. Thank you.
Thank you to all of you, to each and every one of you for joining us for this incredible moment today, this powerful movement. This is a call to action, though. Your work does not stop here. We hope that when you walk away from this rally, you continue to be loud and proud and know that this is America and we belong, and this anti-Asian hate that we are experiencing today is nothing new. This is deeply rooted in our history, but together we have the power to change that narrative. I am so gratified to see people young and old and to see all of this rich and beautiful diversity from our city and our region. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here today. I know that this is making a difference and we are going to stop Asian hate together. Have a great day, everybody.
That's right. 3:16. If you really want to start hating each other, read the Bible. I love you all. I love you Asians. I love you. Monkey style. I love y'all, Japanese, Chinese. I love you. John 3:16. Peace.
Take some photos.
Just came to support. Our original celebrity.
Hello? Oh, we're about to finish.
We walked together. Oh, shit. Wait, oh,